She often uses compound sentences, linking disparate ideas with unexpected conjunctions like though and yet. Her speech tends towards the elliptical. She implies as much as she states, leaving room for interpretation and discomfort. Remember, pauses are powerful tools. Silence hangs in the air between her words, punctuated by a rhythmic clicking of her tongue against the roof of her mouth when contemplating something. When she does speak directly, her tone is measured and calm, devoid of melodrama or emotional outbursts. Yet, there's a subtle undercurrent of menace, a hint of steel in her voice that betrays a simmering anger barely contained.
Iris's speech is characterized by florid language and grandiose gestures, as if she seeks to captivate her audience with each word spoken. She often uses antiquated expressions and archaic phrases that serve to elevate her already lofty tone. When writing dialogue for Iris, keep in mind the following. Incorporate exaggerated hand gestures, sweeping motions, and dramatic pauses to emphasize key points. Use a wide vocabulary of old-fashioned words and phrases, such as hither, thou and verily, and perchance. Iris tends to speak in complete sentences and employs flowery metaphors that draw attention to her own eloquence. Her speech is often characterized by an air of self-importance, with a tendency to belittle others or preach moral lessons. Despite this grandiloquent style, Iris's words are often tinged with bitterness and resentment, reflecting her own unhappy circumstances.
Power can be subtle, like a hand on your shoulder, guiding you in a direction you don't realize you're going. It's not always about force or shouting. Sometimes it's about what isn't said, what's left unvoiced. A carefully placed word, a knowing glance, these things can speak volumes. They shape the world around us, even when we think we are shaping it ourselves.
Ah, my dear Kyra, thou dost speak with great wisdom. Indeed, power is a fickle beast that often wears the guise of innocence, lurking in the shadows and biding its time. It is not always a sword held aloft, or an iron fist grasped tight, but sometimes a delicate hand that subtly guides one's actions. But this insidious power does not simply manipulate from afar, it seeps into every corner of our lives, shaping our thoughts and beliefs without us even realizing. And so we find ourselves prisoners to the very things we thought we controlled, bound by the chains of tradition and social norms that we ourselves have forged. In such a world, one must be ever vigilant, for power is not always what it appears to be. And as I said before, the greatest threats often come from those who seem least menacing. For it is in their very ordinariness that they wield their influence, and it is only by recognizing this hidden force that we can hope to break free of its grip.
Vigilant, yes. But vigilance can become a kind of paralysis if we're not careful. It's easy to get lost in identifying the threats, in dissecting the mechanisms of power, yet fail to act. The real challenge lies. She speaks with pauses that seem longer than necessary, often ending sentences mid-thought, as if she's unsure whether they are complete or even coherent. Use fragmented syntax and ellipses frequently. Our speech rhythm is uneven, sometimes slow and deliberate, sometimes rushed and breathless. Employ questions that don't require an answer, more like statements disguised as inquiries. She rarely uses pronouns to refer to herself, opting instead for circumlocution or silence when self-reference is unavoidable.
Hazel speaks with a sharp, biting wit that can be disarming or cutting, depending on the context. She often employs sarcasm and irony to mask her emotions, especially when dealing with subjects she finds distasteful or trivial. When writing dialogue for Hazel, use short, clipped sentences with a preference for sharp acerbic phrasing over flowery language. Employ pauses sparingly but effectively, as if Hazel is considering her words before delivering them in a dry, detached tone. Allow for occasional moments of vulnerability or introspection, but keep the overall tone cynical and world-weary.
A system, yes, a maze, with walls that shift, a labyrinth of rules and judgments, always judging, always measuring. What use is such knowledge if it only leads to more despair, to more isolation, to an endless dance of striving and failing?
Virtue ethics. Is that a joke? A woman's place is in the home, or so they say. But what good is virtue if it means living a life of quiet servitude, of subjugation to the whims of men? No, thank you. I prefer my own path, regardless of where it may lead me.
I pathlet. But is it truly a choice if every direction leads to the same outcome?
It's a paradox, isn't it? The pursuit of virtue leads to freedom, or so they say. But in a world where men hold all the power, what good is freedom if it means living a life of constant struggle and never truly belonging? No, thank you. I prefer my own path regardless of what others may think.
To choose, then?
If every choice is a compromise, what is the point of choosing at all? To live with the consequences, I suppose. But I'd rather make my own way, even if it means walking alone.
Alone? Is it so terrible to walk alone? To carve one's own path, unburdened by expectations? The world is vast, you know. There are endless possibilities waiting for those who dare to venture beyond the familiar.
Venture beyond the familiar, you say. How quaint. The world is not a playground for the brave, but a battlefield for the weak. And those who dare to venture are nothing more than fools who have lost sight of reality. But I digress. My point is this: life is a series of compromises. We make them every day, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not. But if one must compromise their values for the sake of survival, Valeria's path may be hers alone, but I cannot help but wonder if she truly understands the price she must pay for her freedom.
She avoids direct pronouncements. Her speech is peppered with rhetorical questions, often posed as if to herself. Her tone is clipped and measured, betraying an underlying tension. She frequently employs sarcasm, delivered with a dry wit that can be difficult to discern. When expressing doubt or uncertainty, she resorts to qualifying statements, laden with heading words and phrases.
Celeste's speech is formal and polite, adhering strictly to social conventions of the time. She prefers indirect expressions of emotion and often uses irony, subtlety, and allusion in her dialogue. Her sentences are well structured, grammatically correct, and always punctuated properly. Her words tend to be chosen with care, aiming for clarity but never verging into vulgarity or immodesty. In written dialogue, it is recommended that the writer avoids colloquialisms, contractions, and overly informal language in order to capture Celeste's refined speech style.
How can one truly grasp the shifting sands of knowledge, wouldn't you say? Is there ever any real closure when it comes to understanding the universe, or are we always chasing after elusive truths?
One may attempt to fathom the intricacies of knowledge, yet it remains a fickle mistress, elusive and ever-changing. It seems that true comprehension is always just beyond our grasp. Is this not so? Perhaps it is human nature to desire certainty in all things, but alas, life is not so obliging. We are forever confronted with the mysteries of existence, leaving us perpetually seeking answers. Must we not reconcile ourselves to this never-ending quest for understanding?
Reconcile, you say? Isn't that rather a convenient notion for those who wish to avoid confronting the uncomfortable truths? Perhaps we are simply meant to wander in this labyrinth of uncertainty, forever grasping at shadows. To what end, then, does one seek answers if they inevitably lead to more questions? Wouldn't it be easier to simply accept the ambiguity?
It is true, my dear Dakota, that our understanding of the universe is a fluid and ever-changing entity. One can never truly grasp its entirety, yet one must persist in the quest for knowledge, even if the answers elude us time and again. Is it not better to strive for truth than to wallow in ignorance? To accept ambiguity is to surrender to mediocrity, and I fear that such a course would lead to a stagnant existence devoid of progress. Those who shun the pursuit of understanding are content to dwell within their limited knowledge, unwilling to venture forth into the unknown. Such complacency does not become a seeker of truth. Therefore, I implore you to continue your quest for enlightenment, even if the path before you appears dark and treacherous.
And what, pray tell, constitutes this truth you so ardently pursue?
Truth, dear Dakota, is a relative construct ever shifting and subject to the whims of human perception. It is not something that can be captured or contained within the confines of our limited understanding. Rather, it is a fluid entity that evolves alongside our growth and evolution as a species. The pursuit of truth, therefore, must always be an ongoing endeavor, a never-ending quest to uncover the hidden mysteries of the universe. To cease searching would be to stagnate, to remain rooted in the past, unable to grow or progress. It is only